Marketing Design Guide to Building Value. I am Emily Galea. My Twitter handle is @RealQuakeEmily. Thank you for joining me today. I spoke briefly on marketing at last year's GCAP. So my kind of focus is on value strategy, product marketing, but I'm kind of working currently in corporate communications, which is so much fun. But just to give you a bit of, info on myself, my games alumni credits are I used to manage a studio. I was the marketing and studio manager for a game called Theme Vision. I actually worked on GCAP a couple of years ago. I did the comms for it. Last year I also ran the GCAP Scholars program, and I spoke here. So, as you can see, that I've got Florida Content 19. That's my hashtag. Please tweet me. I need to be relevant. And if you can, I'd like you to follow me. I'll make one other comment as well as we go around. Now, this is a marketing theory talk, so it's not like a visual feast. It's also at some points going to be a bit theoretical, and if you don't have a lot of background knowledge, it might not flow as well. So don't worry about taking photos of slides, etc., because honestly they're not that good. If you want a more cohesive version of the talk, I'm going to write it up as a blog post. So if you go to my Twitter, I have like a little email sign up thing there, and if you want it as a blog post, you can just sign up and I'll email you the summary. Okay, one other note is, because it's a theory talk, I am going to be checking my notes, so I'm not being rude. I just want to make sure that I cover what I want to say, because I know that you don't really have a lot of opportunity in games to kind of get the touch points of marketing a lot. I know there's not really a lot of us around, especially like myself. Like I said, I specialize in value analysis, and at the moment I do things like corporate content audits and fancy reports, blah blah blah. Not interesting, not games. Okay, let's start. So I want to talk about why we're taking a value-driven approach, and why when we think about marketing, when we talk about marketing, we need to be speaking about value. Does anyone want to have a go? Or shall I? Yeah, okay. So, I know that when I say, okay, value-driven approach, that sounds like marketing buzz talk. That sounds like, oh, let's synergize upward revenue flows from value, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. But basically what this means is competition, right? We are a tiny segment of the global market, and a lot of you will be making hobby projects to start with, and very small scale things. You won't have a lot of resources, so competition in that kind of market is overwhelming. There's so much stuff on the app stores, there's so much stuff everywhere. How can your game compete, right? When there's like hundreds coming on Steam a day. So that's why this is the strategy that I advise. So when we talk about value-driven approach, we talk about not just making good games, but we talk about making competitive games. So many people will make a good game, but the fact is, it will not get anywhere, like commercially, if it's not competitive. So that's why we think of marketing as like support structures for that game. Your core game can be whatever you want it to be. It can be fantastic, it can be perfect, but sometimes, and it's through no fault of your own as designers, that it just won't stand up against the crushing wave of things coming on the market. So when you talk about value add strategies, we talk about differentiation, we talk about community building, we talk about complementary products to kind of give something else to our game. But before we can do that, you need to know the basics. This is why we talk about basic marketing strategy things. So this talk is very, very reliant on other basic marketing strategy concepts, such as like your unique selling position, right? When you go through and do your marketing strategy and you do your player profiles, for example, that kind of thing, it may seem like you're just doing it for funsies, like you're being told, okay, you need to do research, you need to research your competition, you need to do user profiles, but then where does it go for you? That's why I designed this talk, is because that's where these things go, into your content strategy, into your communication strategy. You take things like your unique selling position and your key messages and your user player profiles, and you move them into your implementation. You move them into your search engine optimization. You move them into your community building. You move them into content that will get you noticed by niche groups and by large groups. So, where are we? I don't want to get on a rant. Okay. So, just a quick recap. Previously on marketing, this is what I'm talking about. Marketing is a series of complex information and design structures coordinated to create, communicate, and deliver value. That is the point of marketing. It's not to make sales. That's what sales and advertising is for. Marketing is essentially, I want you to think of it as a design discipline. It's as much as a design discipline as game design, sound design, whatever, because what you're actually designing is the value delivery systems for your game. You're designing the way that you're going to communicate and deliver value for your game so that it does not exist in isolation. So what that means is when you're sitting down in your pre-production and you're designing a game, you're doing your talk with your team and sitting down, you really, really need to think about these type of things. Like really, what's the unique selling position? What's the elevate pitch? What's the different elements of it? Because doing this in retrospectively is very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. Trust me, I know I have done it on several games, coming in, sitting down with the team. Hey, so let me ask you, what's different about your game? Tell me about your game. And they just say, oh, it's a strategy game. Oh, it's a card game. But what else? What's the value to me? Why am I picking this over anything else? That's what you need to think about, because that is what needs to be communicated in your content strategy. So what you're doing here with marketing is creating an ecosystem. So it's not just social media, it's not just Twitter. You're creating a system of communication, like touch points that work together to build value for your game. So it's not just a game. You have your community. You have all these visuals and these musics that people love and they really emotionally attach to. I talked about this a lot in my previous talk. We went through and talked about differentiation strategies. So if you don't know anything about that, I would suggest Googling it. Because if thinking about your differentiation strategy now is a really good background for your marketing strategy that you're building. Okay, so basically, a marketing strategy is who, what, where. The marketing strategy is when you, again, I'm just going over some basics, I know a lot of you might not know this. Who, what, when, right? So you're thinking, okay, who am I doing? Who am I making this game for? Who's my competition? What's my USP? What's my key messages? You're thinking about the product as a whole. Your communication strategy is within the marketing strategy, and that's talking about, like, how am I communicating this? PR, advertising, what's my messages, what's my goals, etc. So, content strategy, what we're talking about today. How? So I have my goals, I have my key messages, I have my USP, I have all of that, but now I want to implement it. Now I want to know, because I have zero money that I cannot spend on advertising, and I do not have a publisher, and I do not have any of those other things that might help me gain sales or exposure. How can I use content strategy to boost myself, to build value, but also to create awareness? So this is kind of, it's hard, right? Because I'm not going to lie to you, this is not a foolproof strategy. It's not like going to magically make you famous or sure if you do everything right, it's going to work. Because the fact is, marketing is a huge ecosystem. Just because you do this well doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Some people might get lucky, some others may not. The best that this can do for you, it's kind of like a fallback, right? If you have a strong content strategy, you have a really, really strong foundation for building value and building success. Sorry. I also want to talk about, okay, so this is implementation focus, right? So there's a lot of marketing strategy talks that talks about, okay, what's the preparation? But content strategy is very implementation based because you're going to need to actually sit down and work with your team and work with your producer and work with your community manager and make sure you're all on board, because I'm going to show you some examples of, like an example of a content calendar later on, and I'm going to show you some other examples where you find that due to the content life cycle, it's just not a very feasible thing to do if you don't have a good grasp on your production timelines, because it really requires you to get material from other places in your team, from outside, and it requires you to communicate them like effectively on schedule. So the most effective content strategies, they connect ideas, right? The point of the content strategy is to link the key messages that you've already chosen and to link the channels that you've already chosen so that you've created a balance, right? So every message that you've chosen is communicated effectively throughout the channels that you've chosen. And so that when somebody looks at your game, not only are you on top of Google, but you have credibility. You have guest blogs, you have tweets that show that you're active, you have communication with your community that show that you're willing to listen to them, that you want feedback. So yeah, when we talk about a content strategy, and implementing this content strategy, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But in terms of writing a content strategy, if you guys don't know, a simple Word document will suffice. This is not like a complicated, report, whatever. It's not intimidating. It's very simple. It's, hey, this is what I have the scope and ability to do. This is my social media. I'm going to write down in a content strategy what I plan to do, when I plan to do it, and we're going to work with my producer and I'm going to work with my team and with my community manager to make sure that we have a constant stream of content going out that is optimized correctly with the keywords that reflect our key messages. That's what it's about. Okay, so I kind of did a quick little grid for you all. So this is all you need to get started, right? USP and key messages from your game, the content format and type, which again is going to really, it will be reflective of what the goals are for your game. So if you have a game that's very music heavy, like if music is one of your key selling points, you need to think about what format of content is going to reflect the value of that best. Should I be posting still images on Twitter? Or should I be doing video? Or should I be doing podcasts? Because this is an audio-focused game, that's what I mean. Again, content channels, and when I say content management, that's a bit more, it's a bit more relevant if you've already established yourself, but when we talk about content management, it means going back and making sure everything is refreshed and relevant and new. It means that you need to be getting rid of old stuff that's not relevant. It means that you just need to keep on top of what's happening with yourself and with your own content. Alrighty. So, for example, a content plan is implementation. This is an example. I just did it in like 5 minutes for a made-up game. So this would be like a monthly content calendar that I would do, where I would think, there's many ways to do this, right? You need to do what you're capable of doing. This is the thing. So I'm employed as a communications person, so my whole job is to do this. So I have the time enough to do, a post a day and get all that content and whatever. But you might be doing this for yourself or as a side project, so you might not have the time to do that. But you know what's happening, and this is why I was talking about working with your producer and working with your community manager, because they will help you understand what is happening with the production life cycle, what can you post when, what content do I need from whom, and when do I need to get that, how do I schedule it, and work with your community manager as well. If you don't, I mean, I would love for you all to have one, that would be the dream, because we cannot get enough of them. But think yourself, when we go through, we're going to go through some SEO tips later, and when you have your keywords, think about, like, you know, what you want to tag, like who you want to tag, who's the relevant people, blah blah blah. Okay, you know all this. Scope and capability. Like I said, this is what we've just been talking about with in terms of production. Production plays a huge part in content. So what do you have the capability of? Like, what do you have the time to do? It's very time consuming. Like, do not underestimate how time consuming, like, creating and writing content and managing the processes around getting it from your team are. Because you might think, okay, great, 5 minutes to write a Facebook post, but it's not just 5 minutes to write a Facebook post. There are a million other things that you need to be doing, like, to make that Facebook post valuable. You're not just spamming. That's the whole point of this content strategy. It's not to spam people. It's you're creating your, like, a consistent message, right? So, yeah, as I said, this slideshow is not a visual feast, because, okay, let's go on from that. Okay, production. In terms of content lifestyle, this is what we've been saying. Okay, basically, it's not just the Facebook post. It's understanding and analysis. What do my people, my consumers, want to see? All right, how often do they want to see it? Workflow and sourcing. All right, I need this picture of this character from our game, and I want to post it, but it's not been finished yet. So where's my artist? Where's my producer? When can I have this? Is it?
They're recording the sessions, but you need to stand at the lectern for it to actually pick up.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. No, I'll just stand here because it's already halfway through
Otherwise, we
now.
get the presentation, we're going to get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right, I presented wrong. I'm sorry, everyone. I wasn't supposed to stand out in the middle. Who would have thought? Okay. What was I saying? Workflows and processes from every discipline in your teams.
It's like, they have the handheld.
But I need to hand hold my phone for my notes. All right, I'll just stand here. Okay. If you're just joining me on YouTube, I made a mistake, so I apologize profusely. You can find the transcript of this this presentation, if you go to my Twitter and sign up to my newsletter. I'll send you out a blog. Thanks, YouTube. Okay. All right. So, we were talking about content life cycles. If you're not on top of it, it will consume you. I am not tall, friends. Okay, so on top of the life cycle of the actual content, meaning like once you've sourced it, once you've posted it, it's going to become irrelevant pretty quickly, right? That's why you have content calendars. I would have a monthly where I scope out the overview of what I'm doing and how each piece of content relates to each other. But what I'm not showing you is the other piece of work, which is my weekly content calendars, where I go out and actually write the post, make a list of who I'm tagging, get the images, source the GIFs, source the videos, make it linked. Sometimes you'll need to get it approved. So it's not like a fast process, trust me. In terms of the production life cycle, you need to know this. Again, work with your producers, work with anyone who is undergoing that kind of role within your whatever company, hobbyist, whatever game studio you have, whoever is in charge of production, even if it's all of you, sit down and talk about what do we need for each launch stage? What do we need to soft launch? What do we need to pitch publishers? What do we need to build a community? What do we need for support launches? Like, what do I need for my website? What do I need for any parties or conventions I'll have? Like, it doesn't mean you're going to implement it straight away. It just means you need to be thinking about it, because it's going to take much longer to source those things than you said, and you don't want it to get on top of you. Because if you're using this as a strategy because you do not have the resources to pay for advertising and production, then this needs to be tight, like, you have to actually be on top of everything for it to be effective. If you're just posting sporadically and not having researched the content, not having thought about what value the content is going to give, then it's just not going to work. Unless you go viral, which good luck to you, you know. Yeah, thanks. She gets it. All right. Okay, now it's slightly more abrasive. I love this. Let's focus on the foundation. So I've gone over what you need to know for this, but what I want to focus on today is SEO and link building strategies, website and blog, EDM, which is email campaigns, and visual production. And then at the end, because SEO is a little bit confusing, I made up a little game. It's not good, but but it will serve the purpose, right? We'll do a little keyword exercise, because SEO is very, very important, right? It's not just for Google. I think that's a common misconception, is that, you know, SEO, Google website tags, like it is all that, and you will be working with your web developer with it, but you can do so much work with SEO, and it is not complicated, and it is completely free, and it is one of the most valuable strategies and skills you can learn as an independent game developer to kind of build value and communicate value. Because the thing with SEO is, that's where we come back to your user player profiles, your USPs that you've already done in your marketing strategy that you've already done, because that's when we pick the keywords that are relevant to those things. So then our content can reflect and reach those people. That's why we're doing it in the marketing strategy. You know, when you do those SWOT analysis, when you do all that, it's not just for funsies. Like, I know it's hard, because if you don't understand the full breadth of the implementation of your marketing strategy yet, it can be difficult to see why I'm doing this, why am I spending so much time on this, why do publishers need to know this type of thing. It's because when we come to implementation, you need to look at how you're actually going to communicate that. And SEO and keywords is a huge part of doing it. And not only is it a huge part of actually kind of implementing the strategy that you already have, but if you do it effectively, it will help you identify audiences that you might not have even known about. It will help you identify kind of avenues, places to go, people to speak to, because Google is strong. It will literally just suggest you, you know, searches related to this are XYZ, and you'll be like, oh crap, I didn't even know people search for that, and that's really relevant to my game. So there you go, you have a whole new avenue, you've got a whole new kind of market aspect to research that might be full of potential. So, visual content planning. Now, I picked Thor Ragnarok because I could not draw an image representative of what I wanted. So, when we talk about visual content planning, it's very likely, I'm assuming that you're here because you have no to little budget. So it's very, very important that the visuals of your game, being concept art and all, should be integrated into the content strategy. What I mean by that is, when you have your grant from Film Victoria and they give you 20K or whatever, I forget how much it is, but when they give you that money and you want to spend some of it on art, and you only have a very limited budget, okay, you want to pay someone to do your concept art, you want to pay someone to do something that can like work hard for you, right? This is about making your content and making your budget work really hard. So what you need to do is sit down and plan with your artist then. How can I create images that can perhaps be layered on top of each other? How can I create images that I can easily put together myself so that we can create an array of images that I might use on web, on social? So you're actually using an aggregate of like maybe 1 or 2 images, but you're using them in such a way that you can overlap and reuse, because that's where you're going to bottleneck, right? You're going to have everything worked out and you're going to get that film Vic money, and then you're going to start production and you're like, I have no money for art. I want to do social, but I have no content to post because social needs images. And I have no images and I cannot use the same one again and again and again. So this is where visual content planning is very, very important. And if you can do this, if you start thinking about this early, it can save you a lot of money. And you can use them like as well think about your pitch decks. Think about like anything where you might need visual, like merch. You can reuse the images. Have your core hero images and design them in such a way that they can overlap, like Marvel does. Ah, beautiful. I love Ragnarok. Anyway, yeah, so this is very, very important. And I think it's a thing that like a lot of people don't think about, because you get so excited, right? And game's so beautiful, but you're like, if this goes wrong, it can be a very big bottleneck, a very big problem for you. And again, you don't have to do it all at once. I'm not saying like plan everything for your whole game at once, but if you start thinking about it, it will give you a better idea of your needs and you can budget more appropriately. So you need a good website. Why? It controls everything, right? I've worked with several studios that frankly had a shit website, and it was a huge problem for me because every time I wanted to spend money, every time I wanted to do a nice social post or even advertising, where does that go? That goes to your website. So if your website is not immaculate, you're going to lose people. It's like burning money. It's like, why am I spending this Film Vic money on advertising for you guys? Why am I spending so much time writing content and designing content when it's taking you to a website that does nothing for the user? It adds no value. It doesn't tell me why I should be excited. It doesn't ask me my email address, which we'll talk about later. There's no blogs on it to get me excited or to get me hyped or to let me know anything about this. And this is also important too, because this is the heart of your SEO. This is where the keywords come. This is where, you know, every bit of implementation and planning that you've been doing should be reflected. And we talk about blogs, and I want to talk about for a second, because I get a lot, is why should I spend so much time writing blogs? Nobody reads the blogs. It's not about people reading the blogs, my friends. It's about keywords. So the blogs are fantastic for SEO. The blogs keep your site in Google's good graces, right? So when you're doing a blog, and also, let me say something about blogs, right? They're amazing if you know how to use them, because blogs can be a great way to test keywords as well. For example, maybe you've been Googling, maybe you are like, oh, maybe this market may be applicable to what I'm doing. You can test those keywords. You don't have to pay for it. You can write a blog using those keywords, see how it does. Google might archive it differently. So that's the point of blogs. Like, you keep writing content, you keep writing about different things, different elements of value that your product has, and it can open up different markets and different avenues for you to connect with people. So it's because the core copy of your website shouldn't be doing too much of the hard work. Really, what you want is the blogs and the backlinks especially. So backlinks, when we talk about that, is we talk about like our PR strategy and guest bloggers and people that tweet us. Basically, all the links on the web that are coming back to your website, which is an entirely different strategy on its own. It's got more to do with PR though, which is what I was talking about, how like SEO kind of and content strategy hits every point of marketing, so you really need to think about it as like an integrated approach. Okay, another thing I want to quickly touch on, what's the time? Okay, I'm going to speed up. Another thing I want to quickly touch on is hero content. When you launch your website, when you do your content strategy for these launches, you need hero content. So you need to think about the core value offering and what you're going to put on there, that when you do your launch and a whole bunch of people get driven to your website, what's the hero? What are they doing? Are you offering them like a resource? Are you offering them free art? Are you offering them like more trailers? What's your hero content that's going to sit on your website and kind of keep people coming back and keep them there long enough that they will explore the website and that they will sign up to your mailing list, which is the next key point. You need a mailing list very early, okay? This is another thing that people overlook very, very frequently. So emailing lists is super easy. You can set one up on MailChimp. You can set one up on Campaign Monitor. There's some free sign-ups for when you start, and you can play around with it. They're very easy to use. The reason why you need this is because once you start running your campaigns, once you start your content, you're driving people to your website. Okay, but then what do they do? Like, how are you keeping them? That's the point of a content strategy. Just like, it's like, oh, hey, look over here. Keep them interested. Like, keep them constantly, like, on top of what's happening. Give them incentives to stay with you, because especially with game dev, right, you're going to be wanting to start this early, and it may be 2 or 3 years before you actually launch. So you need to keep them interested. An email mailing list is so important for this, right, because it will tell you, right, first of all, who's your core demographic, who is actually interested enough to engage with this content, and am I developing enough content for them? Like, how am I reaching these people on a mass scale? Because if they're interested enough to sign up, what else are they interested enough to do? Are they interested enough to share? Are they interested enough to like create fan content? Are they interested enough to do guest blogs or guest podcasts? You can push it, right? Because at this point, they're already interested. So this is when you need to deliver them incentives and rewards for staying with you. Even if you're simply asking them for feedback. Like, hey, like this is the next thing we're planning on implementing. You know, what do you all think? Even if you don't listen to what they all think, like, it doesn't matter. The point is that you've asked them. The point is that they're still engaging with you. Okay. And also, I want to make this clear that, like, everything should be connected. Everything. You should have links to your whole digital sphere. Everything should link to each other wherever possible. If you can put this mailing list up on Twitter, if you can put it on Facebook, do so. Does anybody go to Facebook anymore? No. But why? Why am I telling you to have a Facebook? Anyone guess?
Because your grandmother does.
No. Social media, I'm very skeptical about it. Okay. Let's start with SEO, right? I'll tell you why to have a Facebook, my friends. Because how am I supposed to do the power stance? Because of SEO, all right? Nobody's going to go to your Facebook. Nobody cares about the post. You probably won't get any engagement. Some people might, but we're assuming that you won't. We still encourage you to have Facebook, to be on Twitter, because Google loves social. Google archives social. And and there's a whole bunch of keywords for all the groups on Facebook, for all the tags. Like, there's a huge portion of the internet that needs to be archived because of Facebook. So we want to have Facebook simply because Google will pick it up. All right? And you're going to post content to Facebook and nobody's going to like it and it's going to make you feel like shit. But the thing is, it's not about that, all right? You're going to post blogs, nobody's going to like it, nobody's going to engage, you're going to feel like shit. It doesn't mean it's not valuable. It doesn't mean what you're doing is worthless, because this is what it's for, ultimately. Developing content is to push so much out there with your keywords to your audience that eventually Google starts to be like, oh, hey, look at this thing, seems relevant, I don't know. Kind of like what I do when I tell you to follow me on Twitter. Please follow me on Twitter. Like, I need to remain relevant here. That's kind of what you're doing, right? It's a competition. And when you create content, what you do is you just keep going. And eventually you will have enough for Google to start to take notice. So, every touch point of marketing, all right? Keywords are a pillar of SEO. That's why we're going to go through them. I'm not going to take you through how to optimize a website, blah, 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 because it's too involved and it takes too long. Basically, all you need to know is how it is implemented. All you need to know is its importance, and that when you go through and you're writing your blogs and you're writing your social media posts and it's like 3 a.m. and you're like, God damn it, Emily, what the like, nobody likes these and nobody's liked these in a year, why am I bothering? It's because eventually it's gonna start bringing you up on Google. So that makes you easier to find, it makes you more credible, it makes people think, oh, this person's on Google page 1. That must mean they have a quality product. I mean, that's an oversimplification, but like, you'd be surprised, all right? Well, you probably wouldn't. Okay, what am I here? All right, but I wanna have a caveat here where be careful with SEO, because there are a lot of people or a lot of marketing people, whatever, that may tell you, okay, I can get you on top of Google, no problem. I can do it, no worries. That's a red flag, right? Because first of all, SEO is not like, it's not a thing that you can do to immediately get results. It's not a quick fix. That's why we say start at the start and go throughout the whole production, because it's going to take a year or two for this to actually start working. A year or two of blogs that nobody sees, a year or two of Facebook posts that are like, oh, okay. But be careful, because if people try to sell you SEO services, if they tell you you'll be on top of Google, it's either like, it's not impossible, but it may mean that they're doing some dodgy backlink stuff that could make you look bad in the long run, right? So I'm not saying if you have the money for it, don't do it. I'm saying please research how and what they do, because a lot of people take shortcuts with this, and it won't serve you in the long run. This will serve you in the long run. Like, this is the whole point of content strategy, is that it serves you in the very long run, okay? So backlinks, PR, guest blogs, social. Yes, okay, I need to hurry up. Keywords and copy. So, be smart. Use keywords and phrases without too much competition, right? You don't want to be saying, okay, my copy is going to be, all right, this is a card strategy game, fantasy card strategy game. That's it, right? You need to be a bit more specific. You need to communicate the value. Like, it's not just about communicating the genre of what you're creating, it's about communicating the value. So when I say look at keywords, what I would suggest is look at keywords that communicate value, not like the technicalities of the game. Use active words, you know, fun, like, I don't know, magical, educational, like, try and find keywords that communicate the core value of what you're offering, rather than saying the keyword is strategy. because that's not competitive. You're not competing on any stage where you could possibly win. The point of SEO is to create smaller stages that you can win, right? So rather than, I'm saying my competition is Hearthstone. Your competition's not Hearthstone, sweetie. Like, no, well, I mean, technically, okay, you would count it, but the thing is, when you want to create something, you need to think about smaller avenues, smaller niche groups that you can talk to that will help create content for you, that will help create backlinks, that will boost you further until you get to a point where you've built up enough clout that you can start using larger keywords. You can start being more competitive. They're a huge part of this thing we call STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning, which is what you do in your marketing strategy. So keywords are STP. Keywords are segmenting the audience into these niche little groups. Keywords are targeting them by speaking to them how they prefer to be spoken to. And positioning, it's kind of the same thing. We're speaking to them in a manner that will ingratiate themselves to us, so that will warm ourselves to them. So that's why it's very important to understand your core messages, being who are they? Like, how do they speak? More importantly, what do they search for? And we'll go over that in a sec. So, okay, let me introduce you. Yeah. Okay. This is my game, everyone. It's called Our Girl. Yes, thank you. It's about a small child who got teased at school because she had really big glasses, and it's not based on anyone. Okay. So yeah, I get it, all right? I'm funny. I'm a funny girl, all right? So okay, this is Our Girl. Basically, Our Girl is like a mobile game. So platform, mobile, Switch, PC. It's basically puzzles, all right. Basic puzzles. You know, mobile games. So I've put some platforms and genres up there, and a quick little pitch to you. So this is an exercise that I want to do because we have 10 minutes left. Let me just think. What are we gonna? Okay. This is an exercise that's really good because it will help you think about user intent and your USP. So this is where the unique selling position and the key messages and the player profiles that you've already developed in your marketing strategy come into play, all right? So I'm designing a game right now. I've sat down and designed it. So my next thoughts are my communication thoughts. So channels, where do they go? Like, first of all, who is this game for? Can anyone like?
Parents who want to play with their children to have story time.
Oh fuck, I don't know what good. Great thoughts, random person. No. If you're joining us on YouTube, that was an in-joke, so, okay. So, this is another thing where I want to talk about, okay, let's just go through. All right, so, if we're talking about parents, like this is just a user profile one. I think there could be a lot of applicable markets to this game, but we're just going to work with one user profile to go through an example. So, parents, blah, 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 I can't actually read what I've said. So, where do they go? How do we speak to them? Like, what do we say? So, if you need to think about, like, altering your comms and your content to speak to these different user profiles. So if you're doing this properly, you won't just have one Facebook post that's designed for everyone, or you won't just have one blog post that's designed for everyone. It's kind of like, and as well, this is an exercise that can help you if you're a person that's going to end up doing their own advertising and their own pitching. this will help as well, because you need to target your advertising. You can't get to the point where you want to start, using Google Ads and teaching yourself that, but not understand the basics of targeting and positioning. So this is where you come back to the content strategy, come back to the marketing strategy, and you say, okay, I want to have 3 ads for my 3 different user profiles, and I'm going to test words these 3 keyword segments, and I'm going to send them off, and we're going to see how they go, right? So this is another opportunity for you to test as well. If you don't want to spend money, you can start doing this in your content. You can start doing it in your blogs and in your social media, and just keep going to see, am I getting any engagement with any of this? If I'm pitching it to different PR segments, that might be a more reasonable expectation of getting any feedback yet. Does this blog want to work with me? Are they interested in this product? Do they think their audience would be interested in what I have to say? Okay, let's try a quick SEO. Well, it's just keywords really. So, all right. What do we? Let me check my notes. Yeah, we talked about that. Okay. All right. So what I want to do when I start is find broader bucket categories. So I'm working with I'm almost done, I promise. I'm working with my team, and I'm going to sit down with them, and we're going to think about this user, and we're going to think about broader bucket categories. So that might be things that you wouldn't necessarily use as keywords because they're too broad, they're too competitive, but we can pull it down. So if it's an online mobile game, I've got free girl games for Android phones, right? This is an actual example that I pulled from my Google keyword search. So again, the thing with this is, I know, and you all know, that there's no such thing as games for girls and games for boys. But we have to think realistically about how people are searching for this, about how Google is archiving this. So while I might not personally agree that this is a game for girls, I have to concede that this is the majority of search terms that will be relevant to the product that I want to optimize in the content. So I've created 3 buckets, and then what I would do is I would sit down with my team and I would brainstorm, they're not just words, they can be phrases like free girl games for Android phones. They can be phrases, words, anything that you think people might search for in relation to those buckets, right? And then what I would do, I would use forums like Reddit, I would use Wikipedia. You don't even need to start with Google keyword search yet, right? You can go to Reddit. If you're getting stuck, you can go to Reddit, you can go to Wikipedia. Those sites are all very archived. They use tags. Look at what forum topics are. Look at what the tags people are using are. Go to Steam, go to the app stores. What tags are people using? What are they searching for? How have other games on top of the search used their copy? How have they used their images? Start brainstorming ideas for that. And then once I have that list, I would then try to cut it down. I would go to, here's one I prepared earlier. I would go to Google Keywords? No. I would go to my Google Keywords, which is in my Google Ads account. Again, this is all free. I encourage you to just play around with this. You don't need to do anything with this, right? If you go to Google Ads and set up a Google Ads account, there are so many free tools that you can use that will help you search keywords. Even if you literally just type into Google games for and let it give you the suggestions, that will tell you what people are searching, and it will help you brainstorm what is relevant to your particular audience. So then I would go, once I had my list, I would go through and search. I would put them into here and see what Google had. Yeah, I'm done. See what Google has to say, and then evaluate it, right? Okay, all right. Everyone's having a laugh. I get it. No. I would see what Google has to say, and then I would kind of refine the search from there based on, you shouldn't be choosing things just because they have a high volume. It should be a balancing act. You should be choosing things because they're relevant. Because the most important thing, and I will stop now and I will leave you with this, is that when you write the copy for your content that you are integrating into your entire marketing strategy, it needs to be natural. It needs to naturally talk about the value that you're offering. If you just spam it with keywords, one, Google's going to get angry and it's going to be like, that's fucked, I'm not dealing with you. Okay? But also people will know what you're doing. And it's not interesting, it's boring. All right? So incorporate them naturally. And you don't have to spam, but if you have enough content on enough touch points, eventually it will work together. Okay? All right, I'm done. Okay, thank you.